Shalom. So, something rather amazing happened last night. And the more I've been thinking about it, the more amazing it seems. And I'm not sure how I can really describe like how amazing it is to me, especially with all the details. So what happened was Jonathan went to 770 Eastern Parkway. He met with a friend of mine who got together two other adult Jewish males of kosher Edom, right? People who are respected members of the Jewish community, and they sat and listened to him make what Christians would call a confession of faith. To maybe I should pull up Maimonides. Maimonides, chapter 8 of the Laws of Kings and Wars. There's Kings and Wars. There's chapter 8. Bigger. And what Maimonides says at the end of chapter 8 is this is Halacha 11. Anyone who accepts upon himself and carefully observes the 7 commandments is of the righteous of the nations of the world and has a portion in the world to come. This is as long as he accepts and performs them, because he truly believes that it was the Holy One, blessed be He, who commanded them in the Torah, and that it was through Moses, our teacher, we were informed that the sons of Noah had already been commanded to observe them. But if he observes them because he convinced himself logically, that is not considered a resident convert, and is not of the righteous of the nations of the world, and not even of their wise. And the point of that is my brain will start working, that you have to do the commandments because they are commandments of God that God has given you. A person who formally accepts these commandments is called a resident alien, a ger toshav. This applies in any place. This acceptance must be made in the presence of 3 Torah scholars, and Michal and the 2 other people hopefully qualify. And Moses was commanded by the Almighty to compel all the inhabitants of the world to accept the commandments given to Noah's descendants. And don't misunderstand, when he says, if one does not accept these commandments, he should be executed, he means that such a person is worthy to die, not that we go around executing such a person. Anyway, so what happened last night is that there was a Simchat Beit HaShoeva all week long in Crown Heights, as there is every year, which is literal dancing in the streets of people celebrating the Sukkot, Zman Simchatenu, the time of our happiness. What came out of nowhere, Andrew? And the videos are available on Shizoli. We've watched some of them for a little bit. And and so when we had our live streams talking about Noachites, Jonathan just happened to be in New York because of work. And I just happened to know that my friend Michal, who goes every year to from Los Angeles, he's a very busy cardiologist, but he goes every year from for Sukkot, which is one of the pilgrimage holidays. He goes to Crown Heights to be better connected to the Rebbe. And so I tried putting Jonathan in contact with Michal, and unfortunately there was someone who was injured last night, now the night before last night, and Michal, being a doctor, went 4 a.m. And was all Thursday. He was at the hospital with this young man who had been injured, and he gets home and he gets to see his kids for a little bit, and then he goes for 1 o'clock in the morning. He goes to 770 for Leil Tikkun, and Jonathan had also been busy, and he had meant to make his way out to the Simchat Beit HaShoeva, but he only got there late at night, and it's Leil Tikkun. So what's Leil Tikkun? There is a Kabbalistic practice of staying up 3 particular nights of the year, one corresponding to each of Jonathan says, for your information, at 1 a.m. at 770 was off the hook. 770. I mean, usually, especially during Sukkot, but 770 is always active these days. It's a 24/7 place, but it's a 24/7 place, especially Leil Tikkun. Leil Tikkun is one of 3 nights of the year that we have a vigil until the morning. And Tikkun means rectification. And it was a Chabad ant colony, amazing thing to see. And on Leil Tikkun, which is almost all Jews do Tikkun of Shavuot. So on Pentecost night, the Feast of Weeks, which is 7 weeks after Passover, it's very common practice. Almost every synagogue does it, of staying up all night to study Torah, so that you make a rectification specific to that night throughout the night in anticipation of the coming morning when we read the Ten Commandments, when we commemorate accepting the Torah upon ourselves. And similarly, on the seventh night of Passover, we also, there's Leil Tikkun in commemoration of the Song of the Sea and the splitting of the Reed Sea, the Yam Suf. And so there is a practice among, especially Hasidim, to stay up all night, and similarly for it's a Leil Tikkun. And the third third and final pilgrimage of the year is Sukkot, the festival of tabernacles, and the night of Hoshana Rabbah, because of the way Sukkot comes out, that's actually the one night that the Tikkun is not on Chag. It's during a work day. It's Chol HaMoed. It's not an actual holiday itself. Hoshana Rabbah is a minor Jewish holiday. It's not a major Jewish holiday, but it's a minor holiday, Jewish holiday in the middle of Sukkot, towards the end of Sukkot. And for Hoshana Rabbah, similarly, Hasidim especially, but pious people have a custom of staying up all night and learning Torah, and some congregations, I actually have a tikkun for Hoshana Rabbah over there, which Sephardim say, which they recite the nights of Hoshana Rabbah, and Hasidim, Chabad, specifically Chabad Hasidim, have a custom of saying the entirety of the Book of Psalms on Leil Tikkun, on the night of Tikkun. And it just, thinking about it, the idea that Jonathan ended up doing this at 770, Beit Rabbeinu Shebavava, right? The house of our teacher, which is in Babylon. And it was at the time that people were gathering to say a tikkun, to recite Psalms as a rectification of the world and of the sins of the world, and of our souls and the great souls that have ever existed. And it all came together that it just happened to be that Jonathan was at 770 to meet with Michal, who is honestly the sweetest of guys, and an incredible chassid. And Michal had this chance to make this tikkun, this rectification. I don't think I'm going to go over it, but there's a letter in Tanya that has been the source of a lot of vilification and castigation and controversy, to the point where some people would say, why did the Alter Rebbe need to talk about such things? And especially when he wrote it 200 years ago, and with the Tsar and with anti-Semitism and everything that happened. And even the parts of the Rambam, right? The parts where Maimonides talks about this procedure of a Gentile coming before a Jewish court and accepting upon himself the 7 mitzvot b'nei Noach, which right before the last 3 chapters of his compendium, his very large work, has 3 chapters at the very end talking about the coming of the Messiah, because we end things with beautiful and happy things, right? For thousands of years almost, right? Maimonides wrote this some 900 years ago. Who would have believed such a thing? This was not a reality in this world. That a Gentile would come before 3 Jews, 3 chaverim, 3 colleagues, and make a tikkun in such a way that when you read the letter in Tanya, that his halachic status changes. I mean, we did halachic man and then lonely man of faith in the book club on this channel. The change of halachic status, what happened at that moment. Jonathan, what happened to that spark of holiness within that animates Jonathan, that his soul, right, was until that time. I mean, obviously Jonathan had already accepted these things upon himself before he walked there, but at that time it became a halachic reality that he was kofer be'avodah zarah, that he repudiated idolatry, and so maybe I should pull up here, pull up the letter, and what the Alter Rebbe says in this letter is so he talks about what it means for the Shekhinah, the God's presence, to be in galut, to be in exile, and specifically in exile, in a person who is considered an akum, ovdei avodah zarah, oved kochavim umazalot, right? And then he says, where is it? Where does he talk about? Everywhere that the Shekhinah goes, like everywhere that the Jews go into exile, the Shekhinah goes with them. God's so God's presence is in a state of galut here. It is generally in a state of exile among the klipot in order to animate them, right? And he talks about how when the Messiah comes and the entire world, lataken olam b'malchut Shaddai, right? That the world will be made complete, will be rectified in the kingdom of God, right? That this that this is something that will be rectified, and like Rashi says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, right? Hear, O Israel, this the Lord our God is one God. And he says, like it says, that on that day, God's name shall be one, and God shall be one, and his name shall be one, right? Of this, but when the Jewish people were exiled among the nations, and the Jewish people are attached and rooted in the supernal countenance, this became a total exile. Of this, our sages of blessed memory said, when the Jewish people were exiled to Edom, the Shekhinah accompanied them. Now, though God is one and his name is one, his speech and the breath of his mouth, which is the sacred Zohar, is referred to as his name, is singular and uniquely one. Nevertheless, in the sacred Zohar, nevertheless, the radiance and efflux of life force, which issues forth from his mouth, divides into 4 different levels. There are the worlds, 4 worlds: Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Esiyah, right? And that this was made Asiyah, this was made action. Like, Jonathan actually went to 770, and he stood before 3 people and he said to them, he was Mekabel all Malchut Shamayim. He accepted the yoke of heavenly kingdom. Like, this is it. This is the end of exile in a very tangible and real way. And the fact that it happened at 770, on Leil Tikkun is itself, I mean, it's truly incredible to me. Like, the more I think about it, what happened bepoel, actually, at that moment, right? So people are congratulating Jonathan, including Yosef. Congratulations, Jonathan, making moves and being awesome. Yosef, if you can, you should jump on. Anyone who wants to jump on. Jonathan, if you can, if you want to jump on. No, this was honestly, like, the more I think about it, the more mind-blowing it is. But yeah, okay. So I'm gonna hang around for a few more minutes to see if anybody wants to jump on. Let's see if I can capture Shadow. Nope. She has decided she doesn't want to be on camera. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know that I get the mitzvah for making this happen, but like I was seriously thinking about like all of the things that had to happen. I was actually thinking, believe it or not, of Yankee Rosenbaum, I believe his name is. So when the Rebbe decided to Jonathan's boarding a plane to go back to Grand Rapids, the holy city of Calvinism. So when the Rebbe, there was a lot of what was called white flight in the 60s and 70s, which included a lot of Jewish communities leaving New York, especially to the suburbs and stuff, right? The inner city. And the Rebbe refused to leave. They stayed in Crown Heights. And the Rebbe talked about the importance of elevating your atmosphere and where you are. And I mean, Chabadniks will know this concept of Beit Rabbeinu Shebebava, right? Uh, like, and the Crown Heights riots in the 90s, right? There were real racial and ethnic tensions between the African American community and the Jewish community, um, which were exacerbated by certain horrible people who still have talk shows on MSNBC, and there was violence and terrorism, and the first pogrom in in U.S. history, and as far as I know, the only pogrom in U.S. history where there was actual active anti-Semitic riots in Crown Heights. And Yankee Rosenbaum was a young PhD student who was also a rabbinic student from Australia, I believe. And he was murdered. And in a very real sense, he died al Kiddush Hashem. He died for being Jewish, and for no other reason. He was murdered because he was Jewish, right? And I was thinking, if the Rebbe had moved out of Crown Heights, then maybe Yankee Rosenbaum would have lived. Maybe. But I mean, God knows how he arranges things. And if 20 years ago, when I was going to USC, I hadn't become good friends with my friend Michael, and Baruch Hashem, he hadn't become a cardiologist, so he could afford, with his many kids, Ken Yerbu, his wife recently had another child, and the synagogue I went to celebrate the birth of that child was right next to Andrew's church, literally right next to the Andrew's church. And so I saw Michal recently, and I contacted him to find out if he was around for Sukkot, to find out that no, he was actually in New York City, as he tends to go there for Sukkot. And then Jonathan comes on, and he says he's in Manhattan for work, and for all of the things to come together that at that moment, when so many people were saying tikkun, were saying psalms for a rectification of the world, staying up all night for in an actual vigil. And Jonathan comes there, and he stands before a rabbinic court, and his halachic status changes from Akum, Oved Kochavim Umazalot, from an idolater, God forbid, to a Ger Tosha, to a resident alien, to a sojourner among Israel. And it's a real change in halachic status, to the point where some people say he should go to the mikveh, he should get baptized. And frankly, wouldn't be a bad idea. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. And we're seeing the Messiah, like the revelation of the Messianic age in our days. I really believe that. Trey, you're not at work?
I'm on my lunch break.
Andrew, you're not at school?
It is, well, I don't have discussion right now, but anyways, it is like 90 degrees, and I do not want to be in a classroom.
So are we going to Chabad tonight or tomorrow night?
We'll go tonight. Yeah, I got stuff.
The thing is, the dancing is mostly going to be tomorrow night. There will be dancing tonight too.
I tomorrow night's better if we're going to go.
Killing me out here.
We can go to both. I don't mind.
So what is this dancing again?
It is Simchat Torah. It is the celebration of the completion of the cycle of the Torah and the cycle of the holidays, and because Sukkot is the third of the pilgrimage holidays. Yeah.
Okay. Oh right, yeah, I forgot. I've been watching a bunch of Jewish
I'll go to that.
Jewish reels. So
Tonight is Shabbat, and the first. Tomorrow night is actual Simchat Torah, but they'll be dancing tonight too.
Yeah.
Dang
it! I promised the girl I would talk to her, so I gotta do that.
Go talk to the girl. Not mixed
dancing.
Dancing with dudes.
Well, okay. I don't know. It'll be kind of cool. Will I do the thing where we dance around in circles and we lock arms?
Lock arms? Yeah, well, not so much locking arms usually, especially because people will be carrying Torah scrolls, but yeah.
I'll let you know. When does it start?
Same thing, same time everything Jewish starts at sundown.
It's like 7:30.
Yeah, I'm guessing like things will really start at around 8 or so. Yeah. And we lost Trey.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
Well, I'm glad all this no hide stuff is not thinky talk.
It is definitely not thinky talky. Yeah, like I was just thinking, like, yeah, like Maimonides, like 900 years ago, wrote about this, and when he wrote about it, like, who would have thought? And all these years, Jews have been studying that one very brief halacha, right? It's just a few sentences out of a huge compendium of Jewish law. And it became an actual physical reality, right? This is Dira B'Taftonim. This is Bati Lagani. This is like God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Like actually coming to fruition after thousands of years. Dan Smith says, can you clarify? The other day, I thought Jacob was opposing when Chezi was saying that the ingathering that he was witnessing is in Israel, feels like the Messianic era. Yes, so this is a major disagreement that Chezi and I have. Is that he feels that the ingathering of the exiles in Israel is, and for him, so the two factions of the two factions that are involved in the Noahide movement the most are Chabad and the Zionists, God have mercy on our soul. And the Zionists, because they see the state of Israel as something that uniquely allows for this to happen, and which I completely disagree with, in no way is is the establishment of the state of Israel in any way a fulfillment of any sort of prophecy. It's very nice to see many Jews living in the land of Israel and keeping Torah and learning Torah and all that, but that's it's not the beginning of the redemption. And even this, I would say, is not the beginning of the redemption, because the beginning of the redemption includes actually everything happening. I mean, you could, if you want to count beginning of the redemption, like from anything that causes it, like the beginning of the redemption started in Genesis, right? So there's a real question of actual, like, okay, halachically, what has changed? In terms of Jewish law, what has changed? Now, Jonathan's status has halachically changed. At that moment, he changed and he became a ger toshav. He became a person who has a right to live in the land of Israel. Like, that is a halachic reality. That is an actual thing of Jewish law. I mean, I keep on going back to halachic man, right? Where he talks about the status of something spiritually, right? His status spiritually changed at that moment. And the fact that it happened at 770, right, which is the headquarters of Chabad. I mean, we didn't plan it that way.
Jacob is claiming all of his Chabad points.
All of my Chabad.
Oh my gosh.
Why did it have to happen at 770? It could have happened anywhere else in the world. And Leil Tikkun on the night of the Tikkun, right? And then Jonathan joined them to say psalms with them on Leil Tikkun. And he said Psalm 119, which is absolutely beautiful. You know, it's absolutely beautiful. What can I say? What can I say? It's a like, you can say all of these things were coincidences, but it's or self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's this, as far as I'm concerned, this is meaning. This is meaningful. This is something real. Sandy says it's an honor to even hear this and where and how. Yeah, I mean, frankly, one of the things we were thinking of was the Jerusalem Conference. We would constitute an actual rabbinic court where anyone who wanted to could accept upon themselves to be a ger toshav, to be a Noahide, a ben Noach, and like, with all the plans that we made and like the date setting and trying to make it happen, it's not obvious that Jerusalem's even going to happen, because unless there are people who are going to make it happen, obviously Jonathan Pajot, John Vervaeke, and Paul Vanderklay feel no sense of commitment or compulsion or urgency to make it happen. What can I do? But this happened. This happened, and it's amazing that it happened. And like last night, some of us got on my server, and we were talking in the Discord server, and I mean, it was exciting. It was like I said earlier today, I care about what happened at 2 a.m. last night in New York City, not about the stupid things that didn't happen in the world.
Very cool stuff. Can an Orthodox Christian be a Noahide?
That's a very good question. So Rabbi Schwartz was Rabbi Yoel Schwartz, who was the head of the rabbinic court that was established by the failed attempt to revive the Sanhedrin. The best attempt
Mhm.
of such thing has happened in the past 400 years. He was a respected rabbi, and he he was asked and he publicized his answer. Um, the question was, does someone who believes that Jesus will be the Messiah, not chas v'shalom, that Jesus is somehow God, right? In any way that is different from how every other human being is made in the image of God. But simply that Jesus will be the Messiah when the Messiah comes. If such a person can be accepted by a rabbinic court as a ger toshav, and the answer he publicly gave was that he saw no reason why that should it why that could not be. Yet, out of an abundance of caution, his rabbinic courts refused to accept such people as the status of ger toshav.
So
So
theoretically, Sam could do it as well as like many Muslims.
Muslims very easily, I mean, if they wanted to, they definitely could. There's no question Muslims could. If Sam could do it, theoretically, maybe, yeah. I mean, again, it gets down to the questions of what exactly Sam's theology is. So part of the question, I mean, like it's nice. I have this book here which talks about how this is done, and Rabbi Schwartz has his things about how this is done. But last night there became an actual question. Okay, so what does Jonathan say? Do the members of the rabbinic court say? It was a practical thing that had to happen. And so practically, what I suggested, and I think is definitely seems like a good way to go, is that Jonathan recited the 13 principles of Jewish faith, Anema Amin, I believe, in with full faith in the 13 principles of Jewish faith, and he recited those, and then he listed the um, uh, seven laws of Noah, and he accepted upon himself that to keep them. And and I suggested ending with Shema, and then afterwards he sat down and he said some psalms with the other people who were saying Tikkun, literally thousands of other people who were sitting there saying Tikkun, right? Who were saying psalms, and so practically, I mean, that's one way to do it. But how this becomes an actual practical thing, right? If Jonathan didn't believe in the 13 principles of Jewish faith, there's nothing that says that he has to believe in all 13 principles of the Jewish faith in order to be a Noahide. There's nothing that says that actually the rabbinic court has to in any way make any sort of pronouncement. They're just there to bear witness to this, right? So, like, if a person goes before rabbinic court and says, "I accept upon myself," yeah, it seems you lost one of my my things, Jonathan. I sent you a whole thing, which I'm very glad that Michael actually asked you because, yeah, you seem to have lost your one of my texts. But I was wondering about that because Jonathan said that Michal asked him, although now that I think about it, that might have been better because, I mean, that I didn't know that there was anything that the rabbinic court needed to say, and I didn't include anything that the rabbinic court needed to say. But Michael did actually ask you to accept upon yourself, and you said yes, and that actually is a very important part. That if you hadn't actually said that, that would have been I kind of wish you guys had taped it, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So Michal, I I I don't know if I sent the text. I mean, yeah. Uh, yeah. So it is what it is.
Well, I guess that's a hobby, you know?
That's what.
A hobby. It's
A
cool hobby
hobby?
Jonathan's got with us. No?
A good hobby Jonathan's got. I see. Ah,
Yeah.
Trey, you're a silly, silly man. Okay, I think I am going to end the stream unless anybody has anything important to say. Andrew is exercising. He's being a real man. Other ones of us should do that. Okay, I'm gonna end the stream. It was nice talking to you guys.